please come visit us at our Telegram, tg.plusx.app. Maddie, thanks for everything you do. A big shout out to our friend Axis coming up next. And it's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Very impressive what you guys have built. And I think PulseChain is lucky to have you. Thanks for speaking at the conference. And up next, we have Axis Alive after this musical transition. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Maddie.
We're the hexagons coming for your neck again. This cryptocurrency space ain't ready for us yet again. We're the hexagons. Yeah, I'm a hexagon. Now, we're the hexagons coming for your neck again. This cryptocurrency space ain't ready for us yet again. We're the hexagons. Yeah, I'm a hexagon. So I'm like, bet, how can I invest? He said if you got MetaMask, brother, you set. Now don't forget to write your seed words down. Not your keys, not your crypto, bet. So I step, Richard is a vet. Retired at 23, traveling in jets. He writes self-help books, especially his new book.
Hey.
What's going on, Maddie Allin?
Well, I'm excited to hear your talk here because you are setting the table for Brock Pierce, a Bitcoin billionaire, up next. And who better to do the talk right before him than you?
I even brought a Bitcoin poster for Brock.
Hey, right on.
Hey, man, I don't know who's more excited. If I'm more excited to be on stage or to watch Brock, tear it up and tell us how much he loves PulseChain after this. So
let's go.
I got some thoughts that I can't wait to share. But before you go, hey, Maddie, thanks for doing your fourth annual PulseChain Conference. You've been doing this a long time, and it isn't always sunshine and roses, but the real ones recognize the work that's being done on the back end. So thank you so much, and congratulations on your most recent engagement, man.
Right you so much. Yeah, it's an honor to host this. And with that being said, I'll hand it over to you until the top of the hour.
Sweet. All right, guys. Well, hey, welcome in, everybody. If you don't know who I am, which most of you probably don't, my name's Axis Alive on the internet. Mitch, Marty, and other circles. Yeah, I've been in this space for a long time, 2017. So not as long as Brock, but it's an honor to be able to come in and roll up the sleeves here a little bit and give you guys some context on how I think Brock coming on next is a huge deal for us, and how the things that the stories he's about to tell and the experiences he's about to share really align with what those core principles are that really drove cryptocurrency from its origins to like here where we're at today, where we have a shot with something like PulseChain and Hex to really take it to the next level, right? So like really take those libertarian values and those freedom loving values that Richard Hart embodies, and people like Brock and these other OGs that really consider themselves stewards of these blockchain networks and are very caring about that and thoughtful about that. There's just no real telling how far we can go if we work together. And I think there's way more commonalities in this day and age amongst us than there are differences. And so that's kind of where I want to piggyback off of some of the things that, Crispy Man had mentioned in his segment, which was right early on in the stream. If you didn't catch that, let me try to recap that for you quickly. So, Crispy's big thing was like, all right, so we have this thing with Hex, which its origin story is actually really a Bitcoin origin story at the core, right? Because it was trying to bring all these important components of the tech from Bitcoin into a new era that was even a stronger and more sound form of money than even Bitcoin is, right? So what Bitcoin may or may not suffer from in the future is something like that the code can be changed at a later date, and it likely will have to really stay competitive with newer networks, because these newer networks get all the advantages of learning from what Bitcoin just can't quite do technically, and take the space forward. And so I think, the creation of Hex with those like DeFi principles at the root is such an important thing to remember. And this was all spawned out of like things like the BTC free claim. So Richard tried originally to bring the Bitcoin movement into this new paradigm, which was this immutable locked code that really embodied long-term values such as, like the time lock mechanic of Hex and staking. I don't think as many people of us maybe really appreciate enough how underpriced or mispriced the PulseChain and Hex token prices are right now, considering how they are, where they're sitting fundamentally and technically. So like it's a ripe opportunity zone for investment, first and foremost, at a minimum, but on a maximum, it's like technically sound, and from a economic and from a technical perspective. When I think about what makes Hex great and what gives PulseChain value, it's its ability to learn from what came before. So you had Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are like the two best in breed crypto assets on planet Earth. And going back to April, people were saying a lot of negative things about Ethereum, but now things have started to change. Obviously the price changed. And then the common consensus is that the tech got better, but that's not really the truth. The tech has been getting better for 6 or 7 years now. I don't know if you guys saw what gas prices were today. I'm seeing 0.3 Gwei right now on ETH. So the gas fee problem on its own right has largely been solved for now, right? And so I think that really opens the doors for Ethereum to become the backbone of the crypto economy and maybe even the broader economy. And that sets up PulseChain sweetly, because we can act like, basically in a weird sort of way, Ethereum then becomes like a test net for what PulseChain can do at a later date safely. But PulseChain also gets all the price upside of the aha moment when the industry starts to really adopt and recognize the opportunity that's here. And it would only take, I think Crypto Silas was on earlier and had mentioned, like, it would only take a very small amount of the prospective money flowing into crypto to hit PulseChain to have really outsized returns, which then would amplify the network effect. So I think a lot of traders out there are probably looking at this as an opportunity once PulseChain starts breaking key levels in price. And that's where you'd see a lot of actual real users coming into the space, right? And we have all these other things that are starting to stack, right? That are bullish situations for the blockchain itself, and for our future. And like some of these things are like the things that have not yet been priced in, such as like the legal troubles that are left over from not so much the SEC case, but some of the other stuff that caused FUD events. Without going into detail, like we're right now, we're trading right below the Interpol resistance, right? The Interpol FUD resistance level on price. And that's looking pretty sweet. Some consolidation in this price range for the short to mid-term is totally healthy and expected before we go take that level out. And then I think you could really start to see the gears ramp up and see market makers make a move that pushes this into a territory where now it's interesting for the overall crypto market to start to pile in. So once like those start to clear up, those legal issues, you got things like, okay, now that that's out of the way, well, does Richard start streaming again? And if so, like, oh my gosh, that would be a huge price amplifier for us. And I think I agree with like Buck on this a lot, where it's like, we're not out of the woods and we need Richard here with us, at least for the second major cycle, right? And if he comes back in a big way, that could be a huge price amplifier and really bring adoption to the chain, where people thought maybe he ran away, and then he comes back to really support his chain in a big way. Not that you haven't been supporting the chain, you have been. Those of us that see it know it. And you don't get enough appreciation for the things that you do, but just recognize that it'll all be worth it in the end, and that we're not going away. There's 10,000 to 13,000 active wallets every day using the blockchain and are freer and better off. These people are freer and better off than they were before PulseChain existed. And I'm one of them. And I'm fortunate to be in a position to really piggyback off of Brock's, hopefully what Brock says is that he is a steward of this digital economy through his financial power. And that's a challenge to every one of us that's in a position of strength right now in terms of our holdings, to really uphold the network and help amplify the network effect. And the more people that really come together and see that this is a bigger deal and there's a bigger picture here than just ourselves, it's really going to accelerate the rate of growth for the blockchain. And so this is a call to action or a message to you all that you may think, oh, I only have 100 million Pulse in my bag, but that could be a lot of power later on in the line. And it's up to you to steward those funds in the right way, or you'll never be like a Brock Pierce. Like, you have to be able to understand the importance of holding and letting these things appreciate on their merits. And that means like totally decentralized, pump a mental potential, and just like the overall opportunity here in terms of what could be built on. I mean, look, shout out to the LPX guys that they're creating and innovating and building things on this blockchain that have never existed before on any chain, right? To this extent. And then you have people like the internet money people who have created a dedicated wallet for the ecosystem. You have Solid Hex, the fire whale, creating an entire online casino platform that's going to pull interactions and opportunity and financial energy from other blockchains into our assets. Like, there's a bunch of things that are coming and being built on PulseChain now, even that have never been done before. In the first year to 2 years, we had a lot of copy paste projects, but now we're actually starting to see the cream rise to the top, so to speak. And you're starting to see new projects come along that are actually going to try to do new things. And PulseChain is home to them. And understand too that PulseChain is not a perfect network in its own right. Like, yeah, everything works great. There's like been literally no downtime with Hex and PulseChain, but there's still room for improvement. Like, I think we're like 6 upgrades behind Ethereum, which could be an advantage from one perspective. It's safer. It's like there's less risk in the new code, right? Because we're running an older version of Ethereum, but it also slows down development progress. So it's on all of us to come together to kind of accelerate and build new things, accelerate the growth and build new things, and bring us up to speed and up to date, and do things and really challenge ourselves to do things that haven't been done before. And the fact that we're an Ethereum clone, so to speak, it puts us in a really strong position, and we have huge Ethereum treasury reserves that back this chain as well. So it's like we're backed technically and financially by what works, and so there's no need to reinvent the wheel here. We just need to take what's working well and just accelerate the rate of growth and the user adoption and all those things, and really show the value that's already here that the whole entire market is missing. Okay. Another thing is like, well, what happens if centralized exchanges start listing us? Like, how big of an amplifier is that for? And I really want to challenge the original thought process of like, well, we don't need centralized exchanges. Well, we don't need it. We've been operating fine just in DeFi and bridging in and out to Ethereum and other blockchains to get money moved around. But we really need to streamline the user experience and the user interface so that it's seamless between bank accounts, and so between the TradFi world and our chain, and that's happening at a record pace, with the new rails being built, the new regulations that are in place, the new rails that are being built already by Coinbase and all these other huge corporations that have now come together to really advance the space forward. We're just going to get it. What's going to happen is we're just going to get absorbed into that larger centralized space, which is going to be a net positive to reduce friction of coming in and out. That doesn't take away from the underlying tech that already kicks ass, because we're already using it, right? And it works. So it's just another means to get more eyes and ears on the space, which is good for everybody. And it's like, that's the bottom line is PulseChain and Hex, they're a dynamic duo. It's the best of both worlds. You get the best of Bitcoin and the best of Ethereum. They come together under one banner, and to try to do something new that hasn't been done before. It's like, you might look for like mainstream influencers to start coming out of the woodwork, and it'll probably happen after the price starts to do something, right? So like the price is like the last thing that'll happen. It'll explode in price, or you'll start to see nice steady growth over time. And in either of those situations, it's good, because then you'll start to see more and more people talking about this as like a real place to make money. That says nothing about our potential to become like a stablecoin hub as well. I know that stablecoins are losing value versus crypto every day on the long trajectory, but that doesn't mean that they're not something that's important to our space. And I challenge every one of us to go out and try to onboard, as much money in stablecoins onto our chain as possible, and try to somehow achieve a risk-free return, but through stable to stable pairs, to just give us that more of that backing natively on our chain. I think the 0x Coast guys are amazing, and they have such a tremendous amount of agency about their work, and they're really one of the spears that really is pushing us forward with banking and with regulation and stuff. And I don't think that should go missed. And anybody that basically seizes the opportunity to help bring more value through that channel or others is going to be doing pretty well. It's already working well for the treasury companies that are leveraging the Ethereum is the stablecoin hub narrative, right? And so I just think that this is such a bullish time for the fundamentals and the principles that we all stand for, and then people like Brock Pierce stand for, which is, freedom, libertarianism, hold your own keys, immutable code. All these things are really important to really changing man's relationship with his money, his time, and his government, that's one of my favorite Richard quotes. I don't know if Richard, if that's your quote, but if it is, like, props to you. That's a really important piece of why I got into cryptocurrency, was to reduce my need to rely on society for things, but let the blockchain rely more on the blockchain to free us from the chains of the old system. With that said, like, just a couple other things, like, there's undoubtedly going to be a supply shock that's going to come with any amount of market making. Like, the chart showing signs of some maybe stuff going on under the hood, but at the same time, when you really get that really big candle that pierces through some of these key levels on Pulse, it's going to change everything for a lot of people. And I think that dream of making 1 million millionaires is a valiant one. It's going to be hard. It has been hard to get to this point. And but everything that Richard did for the past how many years now, coming up on 6 years with Hex, was in preparation for this moment where we really could become a significant portion of the overall crypto market because of our values and our beliefs and our principles more than anything else, right? To be able to give people that freedom and flexibility to transact anywhere, anytime, with no middleman. And we're riding on some of the best technology with some of the smartest people in the space. And, like, let's try to bring in even more smart people. There's maybe a few thousand really, really good devs out there in Web3. Let's bring them here. Let's bring them home to PulseChain and give them an opportunity, right? And so that will come with price appreciation as well. And more you guys challenging the status quo and building important products for us. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the summation of a lot of my thoughts about where we're at. Just don't forget that, some of our biggest whales hold a combined over 500,000 ETH, and they were just waiting for the fat signal to go off. Once that bitch goes off, like, we're going to be sitting pretty. So, I'm really excited for what's to come, and I'm really excited to see what Brock has to say. I'm really proud of Maddie for all the work that he puts in offline, and congratulations to him for getting this up. I'm really excited to see what you got, man. What's the chat saying? Also, yeah, thank you guys for all the support over the years too. That's not something I can easily forget. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I feel like I'm a really great opportunity here to share a strong message, and I hope it resonated with a lot of you as well. Don't forget, guys, that we have one of the strongest communities in, I would say, and what I mean by that is, like, no one's been through more pain and suffering than the PulseChain people, and we're still here. So just imagine what it's like when we're sitting pretty on like a 5x or a 10x, how much better that's going to be, and how much we're going to all be coming together. We're going to be, a lot of those 2020 vibes of coming together and meeting at these events and finding our community, right? A lot of, in the OG days, there wasn't many of us, but we were just those ragtag soldiers out there fighting for our bread every day. And, a lot of us come together now, and, like, I feel like the next time it's going to happen, it's going to be a lot bigger. And one last thing was, like, when we're talking to, like, some of these larger players out there, like, it begs the question of, like, what are they interested in? I'm really curious to hear, like, what are they interested in? What are they seeing? Where are they seeing the space go forward? And by getting those kinds of answers from influential, strong people in the space that have been here for a long time, we might be able to drive our chain forward into the future in a really powerful way. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that great talk. And without any further ado, I will go ahead and play the 47-second music intro to bring up Brock Pierce. Thanks again, Access Live.
Cheers.
You rock.
Congratulations. Thanks.
With that being said, let's talk about the highest appreciating asset class today. It's crypto, not stocks and bonds. Boy, this ain't for play. My word plays to educate the children around my way, so they can get out the hood. No, I don't want to stay. Education's critical in my life, pivotal. Could have been in jail or dead. Yeah, it's just that simple. But back to investing. Here, take some notes. Never go all in like jumping off a boat. Dollar cost averaging. Google that term so you can keep your shirt on, so you don't get burned. Now there's a risk to all investments. This you should know. You can take yearly profits and get ready to blow.
Brock, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, well, good to see you again after Ron Paul's 90th birthday in Texas.
Yeah, that's right. I had the honor of meeting you for the second time there at that event last weekend, and definitely cool to celebrate Ron Paul's 90th.
Very appropriate with all the end the Fed chanting.
Right. Absolutely. And I've got so many questions for you, and really excited to do this interview. So thanks again for joining us on the 4th annual PulseChain Conference.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure.
So your journey from child stardom in the Mighty Ducks and first kid to becoming a crypto billionaire is legendary. Any Easter egg stories from those acting days that shaped your entrepreneurial path?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I was, basically a born entrepreneur. I was building, every sort of lemonade stand type of business as a child while acting simultaneously. But I was a phenomenal gamer. And it was that led me into most of my life. It was collecting Magic the Gathering cards and playing, and baseball cards and Star Trek collectibles, and understanding what numbers there were markets for. And when video games became networked for the first time, I recognized that, just because something was intangible didn't make it less valuable, and ended up running most of the world's markets for World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy and EverQuest and Second Life and all the things. And so my acting career led me to being an internet entrepreneur at 16. In 1997, I raised $88 million to build the first streaming media sort of business, the types of things that, are allowing us to talk now. But this is a very long time ago, Internet 1.0. It's part of the reason I like to say I'm the oldest, youngest guy in the biz at the ripe age of 44. But it's been incredible, ride watching the evolution of Internet 1.0, Web 2.0, and being here still again, on the forefront of Web 3.0 as we demonopolize or decentralize the Web 2 tech giants.
Absolutely.
Along with many other things.
There are so many directions to go, and we might circle back here to some of these things. But another question has to do with your early Bitcoin history and mishaps. My research suggests that you were mining Bitcoin as early as 2009, and you may have some Easter egg tales from those pioneer days, like an infamous hard drive with 50,000 Bitcoin that got misplaced.
I mean, there's a lot of stories from the early days that we tend not to talk too much about. I do often tell some of the stories that are interesting and, just generally not as well noted, to talk about mining. I think one of the interesting things that's, publicly known in the works that me and some of my partners have done over the years is we had 10% of the batch one Avalon, so 10% of all the world's first ASICs. We were the first ones running the big ASIC mining, cornered the market on all of Ethereum mining when Ethereum went from $2 to $4, bought out every wholesale, premium GPU in the world to build the largest Ethereum mining operation. that replaced one of our companies, Zoom Hash. We won the Shopify Store of the Year award when we were selling the Grid Seed, which was the first Litecoin ASIC. And we were the fastest growing company in Shopify. And so Damon John, Mark Cuban, Ariana Huffington, and Tim Ferriss became advisors to the company as a result of that. Ran the KNC Miner China distribution business, early investor in Bitfury. So I have a long history in, call it the mining aspect of the industry's development. I dropped out of it entirely when mining went cloud. With cloud mining, I just saw too many ways to run Ponzi schemes, and the elusive idea of investing in a money printer or a goose that lays golden eggs, has always made it not as good a business as it might seem, because it's just so enticing or attractive.
Right.
And by nature, markets that are unattractive tend to have better margins than those that are attracting people in droves. But I got back into mining when we accessed public markets. So I sit on the board of Bit Digital, BTBT, which is one of the big NASDAQ public mining companies, though we pivoted out of Bitcoin mining and turned BTBT into a Ethereum treasury play. And we took our Bitcoin mining capabilities and we pivoted that into artificial intelligence, or HPC, which is now another public company called Wi-Fi. The skill sets required to be a crypto miner is knowing how to access large quantities of electricity cheaply and run a data center of specialized hardware, which is the exact same skill set required to do high performance compute. But the AI business is a lot better. Your customers are, it's a really good business if you understand how to do that.
In terms of like margins or profitability, or
just everything. I mean, it's a hotter business right now, and it's got much better margins and profitability and financing. I mean, if you can go find an old factory that had large power connectivity that is no longer relevant because that industry has collapsed, and you can repurpose it to do this, I mean, you can, before you've even paid for the thing, have it all financed by a customer effectively.
Interesting. Have you? So one of the things I'm interested in is like the idea of someone being a Bitcoin billionaire. It seems to me to be way different from being a legacy finance billionaire, in the sense that in crypto you hold your own keys, and so it's like, out of the 2,500 billionaires in the world, the ones that are crypto billionaires seem to have this special superpower of actually having control of their own money. Have you noticed any difference between that, or have any comments?
Well, I mean, if you were very successful in crypto, your life has been far more complicated all these years until this year. Because if you were high profile and successful in crypto, the odds of the government investigating you, coming after you, threatening your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness was very high. But that changed this year, like from night to day. We now have the United States is working with us. Our government appreciates us, understands the work that we're doing and our intentions of how we can better the world and how it aligns with the principles of the United States. The best Americans don't have to flee the country anymore to be pioneers or agents of change. We are back, we are welcomed, and we have a government that wants to work with us. But historically, most billionaires were in a very special class of leaders of industry, tycoons, and I'd say they still often had a fair amount of control over call it the wealth and the businesses they manage. But like anyone that's ever been a boss before, I mean, you're still a slave to the people that you employ and to the investors that you support I mean, the idea that any of us is truly free, right? We always have stakeholders, you know, we've got constituents, families, otherwise, you know, the responsibilities are always there. They just may change and take on different forms. And since we're on the topic of billionaire, one of the things that I like to say and remind people, you know, a billionaire to me is not someone with $1 billion, but someone who's positively impacting the lives of 1 billion people. And that's never one of us, because teamwork makes the dream work. Are you working on a project, pursuing a passion that can truly better the world and change the lives of the many? I believe that all of us working in this industry collectively are doing that. And, certainly in this field in particular, we understand, have a better understanding of the nature of money and, you know, how fleeting perhaps it is. And, you know, it's worth noting, it's, you know, these are not things that we can take with us. I like to think of life as a game since we started on that topic.
Yeah.
I've won the game of life a number of times. And what happens is the game of endless pursuit of resources for self-interest gets old. And so I went to the options menu of life, and I went through the other games, and I decided to pick the impact one. And so I measure my success by the impact, you know, I have on the world and the things that I do, not the things that I have, the possessions of which I, you know, unfortunately have too many, but the possessions that possess you.
Right. Right. The things you own end up owning you in some cases, I guess.
Back to the freedom concept to kind of go full circle there. You know, we're ultimately just stewards and custodians of everything. Right.
And I want to come back to that for sure. When it comes to like the relationship between the government and crypto and how the United States was hostile towards crypto in the recent past, I myself was debanked because I was named as a witness in the Hex SEC case, although Hex won in court, which is rare that it wasn't just a dismissal, but it further emphasized to me the value of holding my own keys and being in crypto. What do you think about cases, let's say like Roger Ver or Richard Hart, where they're still maybe not getting a fair shake from the government?
Well, I mean, time will tell. We are definitely far better than we were. But, you know, the reality is if a process had already started, right, the wheels are already in motion. Once a charge, you know, has already happened, it's a lot harder. I mean, right now, the powers that be, the cabinet and the heads of the regulators, you know, have taken all of the staff that were focused on basically going after us and repurposed them to go after terrorists, for example. So the team that was hunting us is no longer there. But for those people that were already tied up in the acts of prior administrations, it's more complicated, right? Then, or if you've already been convicted, you know, then it's a clemency conversation, right? And Ross Ulbricht, I'm sure you saw his mother Lynn at Ron Paul's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Ross Ulbricht, there's a case of incredible clemency. And, you know, there's been a number of others. And so depending upon where you are in the process, it gets harder and harder for those that are already, you know, deep in the process. But then just take a look at another recent event, right? Look at the Ripple case. The SEC is, you know, the case with Ripple is over. So, but it's not immediate, right? I mean, part of the problem is once the government is already deep into its prosecution or its litigation, it doesn't stop quickly. The nice thing is for those that are not currently caught up in it, we are not being targeted as a group anymore, of which we were, you know, debanked and otherwise. So it's good not to be a target. But for those that are targeted in the past, there's still a, it's not, it doesn't unravel easily.
Right.
But I mean, you have an administration that is, nearly on a daily basis praising us. I mean, we have a government that supports the work that we do in general.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess let's see, what's my next question here? So you, I guess, co-founded Tether in 2014 alongside Reeve Collins and Craig Sellers. Do you have any Easter egg stories from the quirky origins, like the early ICO experiments in 2013, and how you envisioned it stabilizing crypto while growing into a multi-trillion-dollar force?
Yeah. So, prior to Tether, Dan Larimer and Charles Hodgkinson had a project called BitShares. And they had created a thing called PayUS. We were the largest holders of the first digital dollar. It was algorithmic. And realized very quickly that we could break that algorithmic stablecoin with ease. So didn't invent the concept of a digital dollar on chain, but recognized the flaws of an algorithmic system. And I said, hey, I think this could be done with a more crude system, a more simple system, which is, you had at the time 3 chains that were layer 2s on Bitcoin. You had Colored Coins, Counterparty, and Mastercoin. And so me and my partners were the biggest contributors to Mastercoin, served on the board. Craig Sellers eventually became CTO of Mastercoin. And so I said, well, we could put a digital dollar on Mastercoin that runs on top of Bitcoin. And if we can get access to banking, we could create a federation of banks where we're depositing those dollars and running something very similar to an American Express cashier's check, which is when people traveled around the world, what you would do to go get your dollars in Europe or otherwise. But something that moves with all the speed and efficiency and globally that Bitcoin does. And so it was, a novel idea at the time. And so recruited Craig, and Reeve was an old friend that had never done anything yet in crypto. And he had just brought in the CEO of Party Poker to run his poker company. And he was out at a bar with me. And he goes, Brock, do you still have any good ideas? And that Bitcoin stuff that you do? I go, well, yeah, the ideas are never ending. He goes, well, you got one good for me? I go, well, yeah, actually, you just did regulated gaming, working with a Native American tribe. And, you've been around the track many times. You're a safe pair of hands. I've got a high risk idea, but I think you actually might be perfect for it. He goes, what is it? I go, well, we're going to put the US dollar on Bitcoin. And he goes, what is that? How does that work? I go, don't worry about it. You'll learn on the job. You're CEO.
Wow.
And then we set up the business, and I had a very close relationship with the Bitfinex guys. And I found out they were working on a similar idea. And so I called up Michael Casey at the Wall Street Journal and said, hey, you asked at my last dinner if I could give you any ideas of how to educate your readership about the power of Bitcoin's technology beyond Bitcoin as a currency or a store of value or whatever Bitcoin is, right? Digital gold. I called him up. I said, I'd like to give you an idea, something I'm working on that's under embargo, and I'm willing to give you an exclusive. And he goes, what is it? I go, I'm going to put the US dollar on top of the Bitcoin blockchain so that you can send dollars, with the same, technology as you can send Bitcoin. Do you think that's something that your audience, your readership could understand in the use of how this technology could work? He goes, yeah, that's pretty simple. I go, let me know if you want the exclusive. And so he did. Article came out, and then I jumped on the phone with my friends at Bitfinex, and they said, we're working on the same idea. I'm like, yeah, really? And we decided to join forces, and we built the company together. So it wasn't just Craig and Reeve. It was also Giancarlo and Phil Potter and Stuart. And, it was a group of us that put it together. And I think the rest is kind of history, other than it's worth noting that they had the name Tether, which I thought was far better than ours, and I don't care who comes up with it. So Tether was theirs, but my team, we built the entire thing, launched the entire thing, and they were originally responsible for the distribution deals with the various exchanges, starting with Bitfinex. And then I went off and started the first crypto bank in the world in Puerto Rico, also in 2014, to be able to bank things like Tether and Bitfinex.
And Tether wasn't obviously loved by the U.S. government at first, and now they're welcome, I guess, to come in and be involved and have the greatest market share. What do you think of Tether nowadays?
Well, they've used their 160 plus billion to buy $125 billion of U.S. treasuries. And it's doing $50 trillion a year in transactional volume and extending the life of the dollar and demand for dollars all over the world and becoming a very popular instrument for trade settlement around the world by people that have no interest in crypto. It's just better, faster, cheaper, and money never sleeps, and allows trade to settle 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. And so I used to tell people in the U.S. government, one day you'll thank me. But I don't think there's anything I've ever done in my life that scared the shit out of me more than having built that.
Wow.
I mean, I remember my conversations with people in government. Oh, I mean, and with all the FUD that was out there and all the things.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the project I always knew would be my Achilles heel. I was very nervous building it, because before they understand why it's good for them, oh, what do you try to do? Circumvent, manage dollars. What's the affiliation? This is what the government does. Banks looking at you. I mean, until they understand why what you're doing is actually very good, it's a very scary proposition.
Yeah. And I guess the reason Tether maybe was being questioned as to whether they had all their money backed was because they weren't being treated fairly by the U.S. And so they had to put money in places that made sense. And now all of that, I guess, has come out that it is fully backed and that was all FUD, but the FUD was like so extreme.
Well, I mean, you've been debanked, so you'll appreciate this. Do you know what it's like trying to bank billions of dollars in crypto in 2015 and 2016, 2017? There's few people in the world that could do it. And if you told people where you banked, you'd probably lose your banking.
Right.
So it was just the nature of the industry back then. Everybody wanted transparency, but if you were transparent, your business would be over. Yeah. And so it was the nature of the beast. And so a lot of people threw stones, but no, Tether has always had its assets. I mean, when you have a great business like that, why would you jeopardize it? I mean, it was never really a logical argument, but it's very easy to, when you can't thoroughly answer. And they did get law firms to say the assets are all there.
Yeah.
The big four auditors wouldn't take them on even if they wanted. I mean, Tether was trying to. If you were a crypto exchange, you couldn't get a real auditor. No one in the industry could. The big auditors wouldn't work with any of us.
Yeah.
Tether was just getting most of the criticism for the same thing that all of us in the industry faced, and exchanges, et cetera. But Tether just got more of it than anyone. And nothing was really there. I mean, the one thing that Tether did do that certainly didn't help them, or two things. They were never very good at communications in the past. So if people are questioning you and you're not very good at communications and responding to those things with, the right answers, it makes people think that, their criticisms are perhaps more right than they are. And then there was one thing that, probably should have, I believe should have been done differently, which is when Bitfinex lost one of its main bank accounts and their money was frozen, Tether gave a loan to Bitfinex, two very separate companies, similar related parties behind both projects. But they should have just said, our bank accounts got frozen to the community. we'd like to ask Tether to bail us out and provide a loan. And the whole world would have been, yeah. But because they did it without saying anything up front, then all of a sudden, oh, look at that, we got you. It's the sort of thing, the same action, depending upon how it's presented, will be met with applause or criticism. And so back to the fundamental problem is Tether in its past was not great at communication.
Yeah. What was it, or I guess, what year did it become apparent that Tether would end up, isn't Tether like the most profitable company per employee in the history of the world or something?
Something like that,
it's
making like $5 billion a quarter in profit.
Did you see that early on, or were interest rates being low?
It was in my original business plan.
Wow.
I said it's a binary outcome, like Bitcoin. It'll either be a huge success or not. But if it is, and crypto continues to be a huge success, it has, this kind of extraordinary potential. But, I saw that from the beginning. Now, whether you execute and actually get the market leading position and the industry develops in all the ways that you think, there's no way to really know that at the time. But you wouldn't go do these things or get involved in the industry and the things that all of you do, or, be bullish about these things if you don't have strong conviction. So I had strong conviction, but that doesn't mean I know, right?
Yeah.
That's not, there's no certainty there. Then you need a lot of elbow grease and hard work and sleepless nights. And for that business, a lot of courage too.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been impressed by the Hex and PulseChain community sticking together, even though there were like 30 or 40 subpoenas sent out that all had consequences. People didn't stop streaming, including myself, and that takes courage, I think.
My favorite virtue.
Awesome. Yeah. Speaking of your visionary tendencies, I guess you've predicted at one point that Bitcoin could hit $1 million or more. Do you have any price predictions these days?
I think I was probably one of the first people ever suggesting that idea. But I didn't say it historically in the context of I think it's going to be, as a, hey, it's going to $1 million. People would ask me about what is Bitcoin's future. And I said, well, it's a binary outcome. Bitcoin likely is going to go to $1 million or zero. Either the idea is right, and due to its architecture of scarcity, it is going to keep going that direction for a variety of reasons if consensus continues to form around it as this digital store of value or digital gold. If that continues to, that trend continues as it so far has, $1 million Bitcoin at some point is inevitable, or it would be, something is wrong with the idea that I haven't found yet and we haven't found yet, but I'm not going to rule that out at the time. This is 10 years ago. Whether that be quantum computing or something else, or more likely that it gets usurped by something that's better, faster, cheaper, which was the argument of Ethereum, something that had, more, a greater feature set, maybe more utility. But, that would be the only thing that would do that, right? There must be some fundamental flaw with the system that causes it to fail. Demand for it might change too if governments became very responsible and accountable, right? Bitcoin, the demand for Bitcoin is as a result of the things Ron Paul talks about.
Right.
If our governments were incredibly fiscally responsible and doing all the right things, there wouldn't be a need for Bitcoin, at least not a meaningful one, right?
Right.
The meaningful demand is the debt. It is the continual money printing. It is, endless wars. It is all of those things, right? That's why philosophically, those that have studied this stuff are like, okay, I believe this has an important role to play in our collective future, right? So I view Bitcoin really more as a system of accountability.
Right.
It's a system that is bringing accountability back to those who governs the governors, right? It's a system that is forcing accountability because it's creating alternative systems that force us to act more responsibly, though we're not seeing that much of it yet. But,
Right.
you know, I think that's one of the main functions of Bitcoin. And I'm glad to see as someone that, you know, is a Bitcoin first person, but not a Bitcoin maximalist. I view maximalism very similar to religious fundamentalism. It's where you so believe in a single thing that you've closed your mind to other ideas, including innovation. And as someone that works endlessly on innovation, I would never close my mind to new ideas. I would never say this is the end all be all and nothing else can ever exist, which is why I spend time, you know, working so broadly across the industry, and why I'm, you know, happy to always connect with the Hex and PulseChain community. You know, I've always been, you know, inclusive and support everyone's vision of building new systems in a better world. It's, you know, we learn from each other, and whatever the outcome is of any one of these projects, we're adding to the collective repository of knowledge that could, in theory, replace all of the things we're working on. You know, we may ultimately come together around something even better or greater than all the things that we've worked on today. You know, I don't know what that is, but I never close my mind to other future potentials.
Competition is good, and that's a strength to be open-minded.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So being not a Bitcoin maxi, that's an interesting topic.
I mean, I'm a very strong Bitcoiner. I've probably evangelized it, you know, as much as almost anyone alive. But I also welcome all the other ideas and enjoy spending time working on other ideas. Working on Bitcoin by itself would be boring to me.
What do you think it is that leads some people down the path of tribalism in crypto?
I think it's self-interest in promoting their bags, pumping their bags. You know, it's hard to overcome your self-interest. You know, when you, for whatever reason, decided I'm going to back up the truck on this particular thing, and it's the primary driver of wealth creation for myself, it's your natural instinct to then attack anything that threatens your future, often without really doing thorough analysis of fairness, or to have an open mind and say, okay, yeah, well, I picked this because I thought this is an important feature and why this might be the better thing. But, oh, you guys have that angle, you know, and be able to sit down and talk about our differences and learn from each other. You know, I think it's important to sit down with people and spend time with people that think differently, see differently than you. It's how you learn. When you only hang out with people that share your view on the world, you're not going to learn a whole lot. I mean, it's preaching to the choir, hanging out with people all drinking the same Kool-Aid. I think it's important to spend time outside of your comfort zone. It's where you learn most.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that in some ways everybody in crypto is working towards the same goals of monetary freedom and keeping the centralized systems accountable and doing better.
And more transparency and more trustworthy systems and inclusion. And there's so many principles behind what we do that is fundamentally amazing and beautiful and noteworthy.
There's one principle that I learned from being a Bitcoiner that Safety talks about in the Bitcoin Standard, where it's this idea that over time, when humans had harder money, they made greater things that last longer, and that there may be this effect. My background is as a psychologist, and so I'm deeply interested in like the macro psychology of money. Do you have any thoughts about like hard money and the psychology of that in terms of like, you know, maybe people would cooperate better and build longer lasting things if they had access to to money that wasn't being inflated to zero?
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak specifically to the correlation of those two things, but I can speak to in the past, we lived in a world that was slower, and therefore you would devote potentially your entire life, to that magnus opus, that your life's work, versus today chasing whatever the next shiny object and on your phone with the attention span of a gnat. How with short attention spans are you going to build, collectively and frequently as a generalization, great things? And then I also like to look at, I think it's actually one of the things that, we as Americans did that harmed the world. It came out of World War II, right? I don't know if you've ever seen that pyramid, good, fast, cheap. Pick two.
Right.
You can be fast and good, but it won't be cheap. You can be cheap and fast, but it won't be good. You can be, you get the point. And so pick two. In World War II, the Germans were building great things. And what we did is we got very good at, fast and cheap and not necessarily good, but we were able to build faster production and through greater output win. And then we supersized it, with McDonald's and things. And we got very good at fast and cheap, but not necessarily good. And I think it's important that we as a society and a culture get back to building good things, things that last, things that have more purpose and meaning. And so I hope it's more of an awareness of like, what are we contributing our lives to? What is our purpose? What is the meaning of our life? And how do we contribute to those great things? Certainly in the past, in the ancient past and the not too distant past, but we used to do that a lot better than we do today, with the exception of what we're doing with technology. Most of the homes we build today, it's developers that build garbage that, won't last very long, but it's fast and cheap and won't necessarily retain or store value very well over the long haul either. I think society perhaps reflects the money system in that sense, right? Maybe it's all a mirror, and what we're seeing is a reflection of our societal systems. And if our societal systems are fragile, and filled with those risks, perhaps so are all the things that we societally produce. And yes, perhaps as we go back to harder, sounder systems that are built to last, perhaps so will we do that in all the other facets of life. That's a beautiful concept, and I hope it's right. But I've not studied the direct correlation there enough to be able to say that with any certainty. But it sounds like you have. So I'd turn this around and ask you the question: what have you learned in your psychology studies of this that would add to my answer, or your view specifically, rather?
There was a paradox that really impressed me when I worked in a neuroscience laboratory that was studying people quitting tobacco smoking. And I went on to work with other forms of addiction. And the thing that always confused me was why it was that people could quit smoking if we paid them enough money. Back in $2,005, college students would quit for about $1,000. And of course, they had to have the right tools and support and everything. But it puzzled me why people could spend more than $1,000 a year of their own money to continue smoking and want to quit. But it wasn't until somebody else was paying them to quit. And that's something called contingency management in psychology. It's a branch of behavior psychology. And it turns out that contingency management for some human behaviors has a stronger effect size than talk therapy. And so the instant that I learned about Bitcoin, I started envisioning a tool for people to be able to pay themselves to quit bad habits or to start good habits. And that led me to build a DeFi tool that has failed to get any traction, but is still like audited and in the wild and works, called Time Pays Me, that allows people on Ethereum or PulseChain to do either a time lock or a behavior lock, where they use, of course, like, you have the Oracle problem of like, how do you know somebody's changed their behavior? And so we solve that by giving people a key that they can give to friends that allowed the friend to be a behavior validator and to validate that I've so for example, I wanted to be motivated to write a book chapter about Time Pays Me, and so I time locked I behavior locked $10,000 in Ethereum, and I gave the code to some people. If I cheated, that would have been okay, because then I'm right back where I started if I kept the code. But until I delivered the book chapter, I wasn't given back the code, and that would be an example there of like trying to use crypto to
No, I'm doing an interview.
Improve people's psychology.
By the way, I'm in a hotel lobby in Times Square.
Oh, wow.
I was just at the first MMA fight in Times Square, which is Fightcoin and a bunch of things my friends are all working on here. And so,
that's so cool.
I'm just here at the after party doing this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for being on the stream.
Yeah, well, I told you I would, and so I take my commitments seriously, as we all should.
That's a big deal. Yeah, so I think that like there are a lot of people out here, especially who are watching this stream, who like care very much about like the values that the cryptocurrency community brings. And I certainly got interested in Hex when it launched, because it was the first example that I saw of people changing their behavior using crypto. So people who are trading and losing all their money could time lock. And that is an example of a behavior change where you pay your future self. And that's why I bought the DeLorean with some of my Hex gains, is as a symbol of paying your future self. And of course, Hex went through a huge bubble and is 100x up from its low and 100x down from its high. But part of the reason why the community has stayed strong, even with all the gatekeeping, is because people time locked for 15 years and did what they said that they were going to do by sticking around. So another area that I've studied and wanted to know more about, that I've spoken on, is sudden wealth syndrome. And I think your view that we spoke about the last time we talked was extremely interesting. This idea that handling sudden fortunes in crypto it can be better handled psychologically through the view of stewardship. Would you be able to share some of your views on that?
Well, I think I said some of it kind of earlier, but to bring it back to that specific sort of question is, whether you win the lottery, whether you just, came into wealth for the first time, whether you just inherited it, whether you became crypto rich, the first time someone comes into a substantial amount of wealth, or rather abundance, it's a very common process for people to make a number of very large mistakes that often harm them. I think that you can skip over some of those lessons with that thought that I said, which is, stop thinking about it as yours.
Right.
When you start thinking about it as, I've been blessed with abundance and I have a responsibility to make use of those resources, as a good steward of capital, which is what any fund manager or any asset manager has to do, right? But to think of that in the removing yourself as, this is mine, my precious. I have a duty to my family, to future generations, to society, to God, to country, to the needy, whatever your motivation is. and start realizing that you're here for something greater than yourself. And when you start looking at what you have as a responsibility and an opportunity to do greatness, you know, which doesn't take away, oh, you've had this big win, get yourself a DeLorean, you know, or a watch, something that is a way of celebrating an achievement, right? Gamification, right? The achievement of a major milestone in your life. And it's important that you have those experiences as well, but that doesn't mean just start being, you know, fuck you money and
Right.
like, make it rain.
Right. That's disrespectful to money and
That's
to others.
disrespectful to the incredible power, you know, that you've been given. With great power comes great responsibility, right? And it is your responsibility to, you know, behave responsibly with the things that you have. And if you do so, the likelihood of you having it and continuing to grow it and be able to do more with it is substantially enhanced if you operate with the right mindset.
Right. One of the things that I guess is debatable is whether you know, Richard Hart's you know, Gucci bag marketing campaign was you know, whether that was respectful or not. And I know that there were a lot of us in the Hex community that were upset by his kind of like campaign, and some people estimated that, well, he didn't want to pay $20 million to Google or to Facebook for advertising, and got more views out of walking out of a Louis Vuitton store looking like he just robbed the place or something. But what perspective do you have on Richard Hart and his outrage marketing?
Well, I mean, Richard Hart is indisputably, you know, a great mind that has accomplished great things. You know, I'm not a big fan of that style of marketing, but I won't disagree or doubt its efficacy, right? I mean, when Lambo, you know, there's a big part of, you know, as I like to say, people get into crypto often with the intention of getting rich. And then once they arrive, they start to become, they learn the philosophy and it changes their life, right? And there's certainly the attraction of, you know, easy money and quick wealth has clearly helped build this industry. It's indisputable, right? And that is an aspect of what we are, right? That's part of the allure that attracts everybody and gets people interested in learning all the things that make us truly interested and driven to do the work.
Facts.
But the veneer of our industry is money and wealth. So I don't disagree with the marketing strategy that, you know, that I'm sure it benefited the ecosystem and attracted people. I mean, that's a big part of what this industry does in its beginning, right? And then once you're in, you learn it's a little bit more than that. Well, a lot more
right.
than that.
Oh yeah.
So it's not my particular cup of tea, you know, just personally. Like, I wouldn't do it just because it doesn't align with my philosophy, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't encourage others to do it if it benefits the ecosystem. So I'm not here to judge, you know, it's and it probably was a net benefit. And for the amount of money he was spending to do it, I'm sure it served its purpose. And I think that, you know, in watching his evolution, you know, he's going through his own learning too. And, you know, I'm of the opinion that he is. You know, I'm not I wouldn't be here if I was an anti-Richard Hart person, right?
Right.
I believe that we're all going to win together, and I support anyone trying to do great things and build great things. And, you know, always curious to spend time with them and their communities. And, you know, I believe we're all in this together, and, you know, I support everyone's, you know, I mean, unless you're scamming people, which that's not what this is, right? That's a different thing, right?
Do you think that or what's your opinion on like the fact that Hex and PulseChain have never gotten a centralized exchange listing, and so like we have evolved as like this really strong user base of DeFi individuals. What do you see as like some of the factors that go along with that?
Well, I mean, I'd ask you, in the community, why is it that you've never been able to get those exchange listings, right? I mean, look at Doge back in the day. There was nothing unique about any of its technology. The only thing it had was a community.
Right.
But communities are powerful, and Doge has proven you don't need anything more than that to be able to achieve great things. So why is it that you think that this community has never been able to get into those centralized exchanges? Why is that? I'd turn that around and ask you.
Well, I think the SEC case before it was won was a major factor, and I think that Richard Hart, quote unquote, vampire attacking the Bitcoin community by being a major figurehead, is speaking and speaking well about Bitcoin, and then pivoting to his own coin, like created certain enemies in the industry. But maybe you can offer more insight into like into some of that.
Well, I don't run the exchange listings of any of those organizations, though I was an investor in Coinbase and Kraken and this and that. I mean, but I've never been involved in those decisions. Never sat in a room where a collective decision or individual decisions were made. No, certainly an SEC action will, pause most people, right? Certainly historically, and everybody, had to be, quite careful when our industry was specifically being targeted and under attack.
Yeah, I like there's still an outstanding Interpol issue that kind of like affects the image of Richard Hart, but I think that like the community continues to be super strong, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we keep working together if we were to get a maybe a Kraken listing or something like that. But I think it's well deserved, and I think that there are certain advantages to not being listed on centralized exchanges, and certainly this community has like strong values of holding their own keys, and so maybe that's part of the reason why we haven't been listed, is because we're so principled when it comes to DeFi.
Yeah, I can't speak to why that is, because I just don't know, and I'm not gonna
Yeah. Well,
I usually know what I speak of, or at least have a strong opinion.
Well, yeah, I certainly appreciate your openness and everything. Now, I know we only have like not that many minutes left, and so I also wanted to ask, like, is it true that you onboarded John McAfee to Bitcoin?
Yes, John was an old friend. John ran for president, as some of you may know, and we're old buddies, and he asked me to run be his running mate for Secretary of Treasury. I said, I love you, but no, thank you. I have aspirations, and I don't think that would help me. But I applaud your efforts, and I supported him through that process, and I really enjoyed my relationship with John over the years.
Yeah.
There's a movie being made on him right now, and I've given the filmmakers some unique information about aspects of John's life and his time in crypto that I think are pretty just the sort of things that you'd be like, he was a wild man, a brilliant man, but he's just an extraordinary man.
Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing that movie. Have you by chance seen the Richard Hart movie, the Highest of Stakes?
I have not seen it yet, but if you text it to me, I'll try to watch it one of these nights.
Yeah, I've watched it 14 times. It's the only like thing that feels like a documentary action movie or something. So
I'm
yeah,
already-
I'd
if you're
love to-
interested, I grew up starring in movies as a kid, as we acknowledged in the beginning. I have a new movie that came out with John Voight. It's you can go watch it. The Last Gunfight came out like a month ago, and I've got a new television series that you can watch on Amazon that came out not too long ago called Crypto Nights.
Okay.
I don't want to call it Shark Tank for crypto, but I look forward to. I tried to get pretty far away from everyone to not have that happen the whole time. And I've got a number of other films I'm making. I avoided acting since I was 16 and said no every time. It wasn't until we were bidding to buy Paramount last year, and John Voight and I would do biblical television shows together in like Jerusalem, and we were on a trip in part of our, buying Paramount, CBS, MTV, Nickelodeon, all that sort of stuff. Oracle, Larry Ellison and his son David Skydance got it. It just got approved by the government. We were the other approved bidder. But we were on that trip, and John, really pushed hard for me to make some movies with him, and I couldn't say no.
Well, yeah, that'll be a treat for me to check those out. And it's spelled Crypto Nights, as in like Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, Knights of the Round Table.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's exciting.
Not Crypto Nights like the nightclub, crypto after dark kind of thing. No, it's more like a Shark Tank, and yes, Nights like KNIGHTS.
Awesome. Well, I guess one of my last questions would be like, what advice do you have for people who are no coiners, and what advice do you have for people who are already in a crypto community?
Well, I mean, if you're already in a crypto community, there's not much advice to give because you're already well on your way in your journey of learning. You have an open mind, you're forward looking, and you've been doing your work. If you go back and watch every interview of me since I began in the industry publicly, I've never encouraged people to buy Bitcoin or crypto. I've said it's an important technology and it has a lot of merit for a number of reasons. These are its values and principles and things. But I would never encourage you to invest your money. I encourage you to invest in yourself, in your own knowing. Go buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, 50, 20, 10, 5, whatever you don't mind losing. And that will begin your journey. Because I don't encourage people to make financial investments. I encourage them to invest in their own knowing so they can make informed decisions for themselves. Because what we're doing here has enough merit. You don't have to sell it, right? You just have to teach it. And so I tend to operate more as a teacher than a salesman. And I'm proud of that. I learned in my youth when I would make people ask for like stock tips in the market. When you encourage people to make financial investments and it works out, maybe they thank you. Maybe. And when it doesn't, they blame you. So I learned a long time ago, it's just best not to advise people what to do with their money. Show them, teach them, let them learn, but best not advise them unless that is your core business.
Yeah, sticking to values and principles has greater impact anyway.
Yeah, well, because that's, I think, what we're really trying to do here. We have an opportunity to change the world in a meaningful way. And that starts with, everyone changing themselves individually.
Well, this interview has been outstanding, and it gives me great joy that we were able to cover these topics on what really matters in crypto. So thank you so much for being on the conference.
I'm glad to be here. Sorry for the background noise. Got to do it where I got to do it. I've done it in closets. It's like green eggs and ham. I've done it, pretty much everywhere. And I hope no one with the Times Square strobing lights that you see has had any epileptic sort of problems. But thank you so much. Keep up your work as a community. I've been watching you guys, the entire time, and so. Applaud you for all of your effort. Teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah. Keep dreaming.
Well, that means a lot. Thank you so much, Brock. Take care. Good night. And awesome. Well, what an amazing interview here. And StreamYard is telling me we have 9,700 people who have at least watched part of the stream. So shout out to all of you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Share this. The Twitter account for PulseChain Conf will be sharing clips of each talk in the coming days. And of course, we have more to our program tonight and even more in the next 2 coming days. So up next, I will actually be representing PayUS and giving some nerdy facts about why they have been the #1 aggregator on PulseChain and facilitated millions and millions of trades. And so that's one of the tools that everybody needs to know about when they're wanting to get the best decentralized exchange swap rate on PulseChain. And I would have sang their praises even if they weren't helping to sponsor and make the conference possible. So I will do the transition music for myself, I guess, and be able to do a 10 to 20 minute talk for PayUS. And then after that, we'll have Randy Hilarski on, an OG who knows a lot. And then our stage manager, Rachel, will finish out the program today with how to buy Pulse. And going great. So stick around.
And we're live. Hey, yo, Trace, you ready? And we're live.
We're live like Maddie Allen. We're live like Maddie Allen.
And we stick in the hex, cause you know it's the best.
We're live like Maddie Allen. We're live like Maddie Allen.
And we reppin' the hex, cause you know it's the best.
We're live like Maddie Allen. We're live like Maddie Allen.
And we stick in the hex, cause you know it's the best.
We're live like Maddie Allen. We're live like Maddie Allen.
And we reppin' the hex, cause you know it's the best.
We're live like Maddie Allen. Crypto Twitter been crazy.
All these weekends on my timeline, you should try to pay me.
We're live like Maddie Allen.
Hey, I'm Maddie Allen, and I want to talk to you about PayUS.io because they are the #1 tool, part of the decentralized exchange that happens on PulseChain when you buy a PulseChain. And of course, PulseChain is the gas token for the Ethereum clone that's faster, cheaper, and has more YouTubers who don't get paid and volunteer and make up this amazing community and this amazing conference. So we'll do some more giveaways here during this 20-minute segment. But I want to talk to you about why it's so important that PulseChain has this tool, PayUS, to facilitate the decentralized exchange of tokens. And it really comes down to the fact that centralized exchanges are not real crypto. There's this concept of not your keys, not your coins. And what that means is if you don't have the cryptographic password for your finances, then you're just dealing with a number in a centralized exchange, that's what the legacy banking system is, and that's something that's centralized and can be abused and manipulated, and it can be no good. And so the fact that PulseChain exists as a more decentralized and a more DeFi, decentralized finance chain, is a really big deal. And PayUS is probably the best aggregator of the liquidity pools on PulseChain. And so what does that mean? Well, when you trade in a centralized exchange, you're begging permission from a middleman to allow you to access their centralized database, and then you pray that they quote you the right price. and the price comes from a market maker in an order book. And the thing in crypto that created the DeFi revolution just 5 years ago, but also, well, 5 to 6 years ago when Uniswap launched, but also, you could say it took crypto 10 years to get to that point of decentralized exchange. The way that decentralized exchange works is through smart contracts that allow they allow market makers to put assets into liquidity pools where the smart contract proves the price of the asset without a middleman and without a central authority. And so if somebody puts $1 million of Bitcoin and $1 million of wrapped Bitcoin and $1 million of Ethereum into a liquidity pool at a certain ratio, they're proving the price without a middleman. And that's a big deal. That is a world-changing idea and something that I think is one of the coolest financial inventions of all time. And so what a decentralized exchange or DEX aggregator does is it looks out through all the smart contracts on the chain, and it finds you the best price because liquidity can be found in lots of different platforms and lots of different locations. And so PayUS is the best aggregator to find you the best price on PulseChain. And that's why I'm like so pleased that they're helping to sponsor the conference. So let's go through some facts about PayUS that have been given to me by their dev team, and then we'll do a giveaway of some PayUS tokens. So PayUS has routed nearly 2.6 million swaps to date and directed over $5 billion in cumulative volume, making it the #1 protocol feeding traffic and transactions on PulseX, which is the Uniswap fork on PulseChain. PayUS is also the top contributor to PLS and PLSX burns outside of PulseX itself. Each transaction path usually includes 6 to 7 swaps on average, most of which go through PulseX, causing direct PulseX burns. Remember, Uniswap, they don't take advantage of their own magic. And that's why PulseX is a better version of Uniswap, is because there's a built-in buy and burn mechanism with every swap. And I believe like at least 4% of the total supply of tokens have already been burned in 2.5 years. So like half a cycle. And that's with a volume of being a new chain. And so imagine how brilliant that'll be as volume continues to increase and more people learn about PulseChain. Every swap means more PLS burned too, right? So PLS is also burned using the Ethereum protocols that burn for Ethereum, except the PulseChain burns a little bit more than Ethereum does. And so that's another advantage to PulseChain, right? And, PulseChain isn't bigger than Ethereum yet, but because of these DeFi mechanics, it certainly has advantages that speak to a better use case. Despite all this user activity, PayUS had 0 major security issues thanks to a top-tier user approval isolation and dual verification systems. It's not 100% bulletproof, but about as close as it gets. Roughly 80% of clean or non-botted volume on automated market makers like 9mm, PayUS, 9-inch, and PDEX is routed through PayUS. That means effortless flow for market makers across the ecosystem, more output for users, more fees for LPs, and more utility for protocol owners. As for the PayUS token, PTS, it's still trading well above the sacrifice price, and the protocol treasury has been continuously buying it back for over 2 years. They've repurchased over 11.7% of the total supply so far. It's an insanely sustainable economic model. Imagine if Uniswap or 1inch used their revenue to buy their own token. That would create permanent buy pressure. That's exactly what PayUS is doing. There's always a buyer for the token, and the more revenue they generate, the stronger that demand becomes. When the big volume days return, PTS will fly. Over 65% of internet money users route through PayUS. Of course, internet money is a PulseChain native wallet created by the community that's available on the app and Google Play Store. Every Liberty Swap trade, and Liberty Swap is like a newcomer for on-ramping into PulseChain using fiat, I believe. Every Liberty Swap trade is executed via PayUS. Same goes for Pulse Swap, another tool that allows people to buy in. On top of that, PayUS is already integrated into protocols like 0x Coast and Ramp Now. Even more ways to get money into PulseChain. Projects like Hex Scout, Rubik, Liquid Loans, and Power City also use PayUS reliably under the hood. Bottom line, there's no PulseChain product out there that isn't somehow tied to PayUS. That's what their team says. Cool. They maintain the most forked and widely integrated token list repo on GitHub, actively listing all key tokens. There's even a dedicated mono repo for API integration that gets heavy usage. The PayUS Pathfinder architecture is currently fielding 10 million plus requests per day, running like a high performance Lamborghini engine. It keeps getting better and stronger. You guys hear me okay? 357 comments. Wow. I haven't been keeping up since I was totally focused on the Brock Pierce part of the show. Let's see. PayUS has answered nearly every question thrown at them and constantly kick off new discussions to support the ecosystem. They've provided real incentives to bring external devs to PulseChain. It's tough work, but it's worth it for PulseChain and for Richard. They said in the message to me, you already know this, but it's worth repeating. We came here 2 years ago with a single supporter. We stayed anonymous, and everything we've accomplished since then speaks for itself. Now we do everything we can to help newer protocols avoid struggles that we went through, and Liberty Swap is proof of that. We've put in serious effort. We didn't disappear for months. We've been active almost every single day. While PLS and ecosystem tokens tanked, we didn't get discouraged. We doubled down. That kind of consistency matters. It paid off. We've even earned the recognition from Richard Hart himself. So that's really incredible. And people can always compare the rates that they're getting on app.payus.io and pulsex.com and compare which aggregator site is giving them the best output. In both cases, PulseX and Pulse are being burned, and that makes for really incredible tokenomics that allows PulseChain and everything else tied to it, allows Hex and others to to shine and to really be this hidden gem within the crypto ecosystem. Imagine getting into Ethereum when it was in its early days, and when Hex and PulseChain, or PulseChain primarily, has such a huge head start in terms of this community of 120 people who sacrificed for the token between the 40,000. Well, what is it? Is 40,000 sacrifices for PulseChain, 120,000 for PulseX. So combined, if there weren't so many duplicates, it'd be like a community of 160,000 people. And so that's pretty incredible. I'm like super distracted because I've never seen my StreamYard number get to 10,002 people have come across this stream and started watching. And so it very well could be that PulseChain is not at an all-time high right now, maybe 50% below sac rate, but certainly the community is showing up, and I think more and more people are going to be discovering PulseChain, especially with the latest marketing effort from the community. And Richard Hart and others have reported on this, that millions of free electronic devices shrouded in mystery will be delivered through nonprofit organizations, be mailed to users or to households in the United States, and be promoting the concepts of DeFi and crypto and decentralized finance. It's it's going to be this huge direct marketing campaign, and could even be targeting, as I understand the U.S. Postal Service works, could be targeting high net worth communities, and is really something to be proud of, really something that the more people need to learn about DeFi. And so how proud are you of being a part of this? As Johnny Cass would say, before the party has even started, and before PulseChain has gone mainstream, we've been putting these conferences on since before PulseChain launched. That's why we're at the 4th annual PulseChain conference, and PulseChain is only maybe 2.5 years old, or maybe even a little bit less than that. So I'm just super encouraged by the names that continue to show up to speak at this, the new individuals who are not new to crypto, such as Bitcoin billionaire Brock Pierce that we spoke to last segment. And I'm super pumped to and honored to be hosting this. So I promised you that we're going to do another giveaway, so let's get to it. Need to come up with a keyword for you to put in as I queue up the giveaway tool. This giveaway of another 3,000 PTS tokens worth about $160, of which we're doing 10 giveaways over the 3 days of this conference. This will be the last one for tonight. Type PLSX into the chat as quickly as you can, because there's only another minute or two before this talk ends, and we bring up the amazing guy, Randy Hlarski, who I was so pleased to hear he would be speaking again this year. I've done 9 conferences, and I think Randy's probably spoken, if not at all of them, almost all of them, and probably is tied for the most speaking at these Hex and PulseChain conferences. So that means a lot when people have consistency and are just enjoyable to listen to and show great leadership in the community. So while I wait for you guys to get up to 100 entries or something, we're getting there. Type PLSX into the chat once, and you'll be entered to win. You're not allowed to enter more than once. The giveaway tool will catch you. And we're in our last hour here of the first day of the 4th annual PulseChain conference. And we're thankful to the 3 sponsors, Texas Coin, PayUS, and PulseLand. Let me bring up, we're already at 69. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds to get PLSX written into the chat. And then we're going to pick a winner. Here we go. And if you're listening on replay, you don't have to type PLSX into the chat unless you really want to. Crypto CPT, you are the winner. So go ahead and send me a DM right now on Twitter, x.com/MATI all in. And let me know your address so I can send you those tokens. And we'll make that happen. We've already had 2 winners tonight, and I've already sent their tokens. And I'm going to go ahead and play a transition song, and then we'll have Randy Hlarski on screen. Thanks for listening.
The only one that ain't prepared. Oh, yes, I'ma be a millionaire. 5, 5, 5, 5, a couple trillion shares.
That's a Hex flex. Making money, yeah, we going by the X's. Yeah, Hex, all we know about is excess. Turn a fiat on ramp to an expressway. That's a Hex flex, hey, that's a Hex flex. Making money, yeah, we going by the X's. Yeah, Hex, all we know about is excess. Turn a fiat on ramp to an expressway. That's a Hex flex, hey. Yeah, we up next. Shut up with that scam mess, cause we up in Hex. They showed a lot of disrespect, now they can cut the check. They had a lot to say, well now they can't say nothing else. They had some gains, things changed, now it's nothing left. Hey, money went into some means, ended up and left. Hex is up and to the right, they up and to the left.
Hey, Randy.
Good evening, sir. You got me at my bedtime.
Well, thanks so much for joining. You may have heard me say kind things already, and I meant them all. So
thank you, sir.
I will leave it to you to speak for the next 20 minutes on anything PulseChain related or anything crypto related that you want to touch on.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. It's good to be back. Tonight, actually, the slot was about shilling. So I took an old presentation of mine that I have actually presented probably 5 times in my my sales career and crypto. I've actually have the on video recorded that you can go watch on my channel if you want with the slide deck. But I've always been a big fan of the shill. I've been in this game a long time. I got into crypto in 2014. I was my first big successes were on platforms like Steemit, and I would go on there and I'd write articles about projects, and then projects started coming to me and asking me if I would promote their stuff for them, and I did, and it helped me perfect my skills. And I used a lot of the sales tactics that I had used over the years, not just in regular sales, but if you guys don't know, I was also a psych nurse and mental health counselor. Maddie and I have the mental health stuff in common. And if people don't know that in mental health, a lot of what you do is sales. And it helped me perfect my skills over the year, my bedside manner, how to talk to people and how to control emotions and don't get bent out of shape as much. And one of the books that I read back in the day, this is even before I went on my entrepreneurial ride. It's called Sales Dogs, and it's by Robert Kiyosaki's team. And I absolutely love this book. And I always get made fun of when I bring it up. But for me, I can look at the whole PulseChain ecosystem of our community, the shillers, the people that are out there talking, who are bringing in the new blood and the new folks into PulseChain. And I can put them into different categories and what types of dogs they are, if you want to relate them to dogs. And I think it's really cute, and it's something that I've taught many people. So I'm going to go through this really quick. I can actually see the slide deck. You guys can't, but if you want to see the full thing, you can go look at my channel and find it on there. But first up, I want to talk about the golden retrievers. Now, the golden retrievers in our community, these are The people that have excellent customer service, they're extra friendly, they kill people with kindness, they're helpful by nature. And I want you to think about the people in the community who you think are like this and who you would think as a golden retriever. And I could think of a few right off the bat. But first, I'm going to give you their strengths and what I see as their advantages. First, their strengths. They build strong relationships and they create a subconscious obligation. So when you get to know these people, you feel obligated to help them. You feel obligated to do the best you can. And the first person that comes to my mind is RG3. RG3, going back to 2019, was one of the first people I followed in the Hex ecosystem. And he started off with his late night show with DCC. And those guys, you know, because RG3 was a military veteran like myself, kind of jived. And he's so friendly and just, you don't ever want to disappoint RG3. He's just that type of guy. And I considered him a golden retriever, as well as SJ, who helps to run his conference. And the two of those guys together, as well as Black Hexagon all together, they run an amazing conference. If you guys want to see me in Vegas, make sure you come this year or next year. I will be there. I will always support RG3 and SJ just because they're so friendly and they're so easy to get along with. And the other person that I think of as a golden retriever is my co-founder of SolidX, and that's the Firewhale. I should say he is the founder of SolidX. I am the co-founder. And he is the most lovable person that you always want to do the best for him and support him in every way you can. He's been a great asset to our community. And I think anybody who has this type of personality, you just don't ever want to upset them or hurt them in any way. You want to support them as much as you can just because they're so amazing as people. Now, the next one is our pit bulls. Now, you guys know we have pit bulls in this community. These are people that get shit done. You know, they're aggressive, they're fearless, they're bold, strong, and they don't take no for an answer. Think about a couple people in the community that would fit the mold of the pit bull. They're very self-confident. They're all their actions lead to a shill. Everything they do, they turn left, turn right, they're shilling something. And they do their job. And these people, a lot of them are the ones who bring a lot of eyeballs to PulseChain. And they help turn all of our objections, all the things that we say aren't going to work about PulseChain, they turn it into an opportunity to bring you closer and bring more people into PulseChain. Now, the advantage is they have a high volume. They have their following, they shill, and they even get pushy at times. And I'm going to name a couple people here, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me. B-Roots for sure. B-Roots is our pit bull of our community. He has been for a long time. I love the guy. During the bear market, he was there. He didn't sink into the bushes like a lot of other influencers. So thank you, B-Roots, as well as Maddie. I think Maddie's a pit bull. If you ever met Maddie in person, he definitely he has something to say, and he's going to tell you. He's not going to mess around. He's not going to mince words. And he's been doing this now for many years and just keeps going. And he will get your attention one way or the other. That's Maddie. And the other one is a newcomer to our ecosystem. And I really like this guy, Tiger Guy. He's definitely a pit bull, man. This guy is on his phone nonstop, you know, follow his TikTok, follow his Instagram. The guy is creating content. He's getting eyeballs. He's relentless. These are the kind of people that I admire just because they persevere and they don't take no for an answer. All right. The next one is our Chihuahuas. Think about who in our ecosystem fits the whole personality of the Chihuahuas. Now, when I think of a Chihuahua, I'm not thinking of just a small dog. Okay, don't look at them as this thing as just a small dog. No, this is their personality type, right? They're technical wizards. They're extremely bright. They're passionate about the product. These people just get it. You know, if you have a question, who are the people that you're going to go to get an answer? If you want the correct answer, you can contact me, but I might not have the correct answer. All right. They know the products. They know what we have on PulseChain. They know the ecosystem. They're good at planning. They could talk to anybody and they could answer any question. All right. Their advantages that they're always ahead of the game. They value accuracy and they can put up detailed presentations. Now, the people that I think of are RH Max, Crispy Man, Cryptographics, and David Feeder. These are the 4 folks I think of in our ecosystem that if I have questions and I want the stuff broken down and get an answer, those are the folks that I'm going to go to. And these are the ones I consider the Chihuahuas in our ecosystem. So guys, please don't take offense. Like, I called you Chihuahuas. That's just the dog that Robert Kiyosaki's team chose for what I consider people that are really bright and they know how to break the stuff down and make it easy to understand. Now, next is my personal favorite, because this is the one I think that I am. It's the Basset Hound, right? The Basset Hounds, they're charming, constant, loyal, trustworthy, and this is the people out there that you like them. You don't know why you like them. They're just there, you know. You're like, dude, you're cool. I don't know why you're cool, but I like you. All right. They know the art of building rapport. They strike on the client's emotions. They know how to charm their way. And that's exactly how I worked as a nurse. When I was a psych nurse, I was always the one that the other nurses would be like, Randy, could you go take care of this, please? This person, they're not listening. They're not doing anything. They're not taking their medication or whatever it was. They'd always send Randy. Go build some rapport. And I was the guy who was, you know, this might sound crazy to some of you guys because you've never been in a mental health institution or anything like that. But I was always the nurse who hung out with the patients. I'd rather be out in the ward, hanging out with the patients, chilling with them, watching TV or doing whatever. That was my thing. So the patients liked me and they did what I asked. I built rapport, right? They build strong relationships with their clients. They always have a humble approach, can win hearts that no one else can. The people I think of in our community, I don't know, you might have a couple going in your head, but I have a couple myself. Axis Alive and Mike Wills, who was presenting earlier for Pulseland, his new project, Pulseland. Mike, I'll speak to Mike. He is one of the nicest people I've ever met. For those of you guys who do not know, Mike Wills and I, we've been close friends now for a few years, and we travel all over the world with our families together. Like if I tell him I'm going to Disney World Paris in 2 weeks, he'll find a way to get his kids to Disney World Paris. That's just how it is with us. And building the relationships, I think, in our ecosystem is so important. And the other thing about the Basset Hounds too is that we tend to be the ones that other folks go to get for connections, right? So people will mess with me all the time. Hey, Randy, can you talk to so and so, and you know, put me in connect with them or connect me so we can do business, that type of thing. And it's been working great, and I've been doing this for years. I'm a natural at it. Growing up around the table, you know, it's tough, right? And I was the one that didn't like silence. So I was, you know, they call you Chatty Cathy, right? I was one of those. All right. Now, the last one I want to talk about is the Poodle. Now, the Poodle is, they're luxurious. They're extremely well connected. They're elite, center of attention, vain and self-conscious. I know you guys know a few of these in the ecosystem. I'm not the ones I'm going to say. I'm not going to say they're self-conscious. I would not put them in that way at all. Not self-conscious, but definitely the other parts. Their strengths. They're power dressers. They have at any moment they can call huge people. You know, people, really powerful people, get stuff done. and they know everything about the product that they're shilling. Know everything. Now, there's two here. One I'm going to start with that is one of my favorite people in PulseChain, and I've been following him for a long time since probably 2020 on TikTok and on Instagram. It's Super Hex Win. Super Hex Win. That is the man. I consider him a poodle, right? Nothing against the guy for being a poodle, but he gets it done. He gets eyeballs. People are checking out him on his Ducati. They're checking out his Lamborghinis, his, I don't know if it's a G-Wagon that's lifted. I think maybe it's a Brabus or something. My God, the guy gets eyeballs. And the other person I think of, and I think everyone here is going to agree with me, is our fearless leader, Richard Hart. Richard Hart is a poodle. He brings attention all different ways. And, you know, you watch his old videos with the long hair and the top hat. He would go to events wearing top hats, wearing his Louis Vuitton, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's great. Poodles bring attention and they're well connected. And we know Richard's well connected. We've seen the interviews that he's done in the past and where the people he's talked to. Just think it's cool. All right. So going forward in the future as influencers, as shillers, because we are all responsible for shilling our own product, and our own product is something anything that we care about, and that's whether it's PulseChain, PulseX, Inc, Hex, within our ecosystem. All right. You want to go out there and stick with what you know. Be nice to people. Be kind. There's some things that do disappoint me within our ecosystem. I see people, you know, who are really aggressive and they say mean things about other people, and they don't need to do that, guys. Be friendly. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, right? That's a saying that we've heard for a long time throughout our lives. And I wish people would start to abide by that again. I think it's really important. X, when you get on X, or some of you, whoever still uses Facebook, I don't. When you get on X, pretend that you're sitting at the table with the people. And I bet if you pretended that you were across from them, you wouldn't say a lot of things that are being said. So be really careful what comes out. And, you know, I've had to dial back. There was some times where I've gotten a little bit feisty. And, you know, I feel bad for it, and I apologize, you know, for anybody who may have offended over the years, because I do have a sharp tongue. Hell, I launched Nope Token, the disagreeable token, you know, because I have a lot to say when it comes to politics and money and crypto and these kind of things. And I just want what's best for the world, and I hope everyone enjoys what's going to be coming soon for PulseChain. I think we're going to have some great times ahead. It's going to be, I hope 2021 on steroids. 2021 was fun. Let's see what happens going into the future. So Maddie, that's all I have to say. If anybody wants to come to my conference, we have our conference in January, the last week of the year here in Panama. It'll be our second one. Folks like RG3 are coming, the Fire Whale's coming, Axis, who else? It's just so many folks that I'm sure that you guys will love to see, shake hands with, and some pretty knowledgeable people here in Panama that will spread some great knowledge to. We're doing it in Old Town, so it'll be a beautiful place, and at the oldest hotel in Panama. So really, really elegant. So that's what I've got.
Awesome. And what are the dates for that?
It's the last weekend of, I think it's the 24th or 25th, but it's one of those days. And it's for 2 days.
Of this month?
January.
Oh, January. Got it. Cool.
I'm going way ahead here.
Well, yeah, we'll be able to promote it on the Pulse or the Hex conferences with the 6th annual Hex conference at the beginning of January.
Oh, absolutely.
But Yeah, you better get your tickets now to Randy's conference because you don't want to make last minute plans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the problem is it's going to be summertime in Panama at that time, and the flights all book up probably by, I would say, early December. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Well,
I've heard good things. Yeah, Fast Abdul, I guess went. Yeah, there he is in the chat. Yeah, so very cool. And yeah, I loved your analogy of
You're a pit bull, sir.
Right. Well, you've met me in person.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate it doing the conference once again. This is sorely needed, and you know, the more the merrier.
I dig it. Well, thank you so much for your talk and everything you do for the community. And everybody go follow Randy Halarski and check out what he's got to offer. And up next, we have Rachel doing a segment. And so she'll be up with me here after this 30-second interlude.
That's a Hex flex. Making money, yo, we growing by the excess. Yeah, Hex, all we know about is excess. Turn a fiat on ramp to an expressway. That's a Hex flex. Hey, that's a Hex flex. Making money, yo, we growing by the excess. Yeah, Hex, all we know about is excess. Turn a fiat on ramp to an expressway. That's a Hex flex. Hey, yo, we up next. Shut up with that scam mess, cause we up in Hex. It showed a lot of disrespect, now they can cut the check. They had a lot to say, well, now they can't say nothing else. They had some gains, things changed, now it's nothing left. Hey, money went into some means, ended up and left. Hex is up and to the right, they up and to the left.
Hey.
Hi, Maddie. How are you doing?
I'm great. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Well, people may or may not be aware that you have been the stage manager and helping me to pull off this conference for another time, another streak here. So thank you so much for making this possible.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for letting me. It's been a pleasure, and you cease to amaze me. This conference is already to a great start, and so cool just to hear all of the speakers when I've been able to actually listen to them. We have had such a good lineup, and so yeah, great job.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a great day so far, and we have 2 more great days ahead of us. I want to let everybody know that the final giveaway for today will be to win a watch from Crypto 7, the second watch. Let me update this. And the way that you'll enter for this one is to retweet the stream that we've been doing on Twitter. So I'm just dropping into the live stream chat now on YouTube and Twitter, the tweet that you can retweet. And then in the next 10 minutes, if you retweet it, I will semi-randomly pick a person who has retweeted it to be the winner of that final giveaway for today. And then we'll be giving away, we will have 3 more winners tomorrow and 3 more winners the next day for more PayUS tokens. So the final segment we've got for tonight is Rachel has recorded a segment on how to buy Pulse.
Yes,
so
it'll be great. I will reintroduce myself in it, so everyone beware.
Right.
But it'll be great. Thanks.
Yeah, it'll be like a twin situation right now.
Yeah, for real.
All right, great. Well, yeah, thanks again, and we'll kick off this last segment now.
Hi, my name is Rachel Lobb, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. I am going to teach you how to buy PulseChain. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you so much for Maddie for putting on this conference. The PulseChain and Hex conferences are always so awesome. So great job, Maddie. You are an absolute rock star. Now, let's get into how to buy PulseChain. So we're going to start with a website, which is PulseChain.com. So in here, you're going to go into your search bar and type in PulseChain.com. And what we're going to find is the PulseChain website was revamped recently and it looks awesome. So super excited to go through what they have. I love what they've added to this because seriously, it has just made it so much easier to do exactly what you need within PulseChain. So if you're on this webpage, you're going to scroll down and you're going to see a couple of different things down here. And one of the things is buy Pulse. So Pulse is required for all transactions and can be bought directly via bank to crypto platforms such as Coast or Ramp Now. Existing crypto users can use Liberty Swap, Gibbs Finance, or other methods. We're going to click on other methods. And right down here, we're going to see all these different ways of what you can do. Now, I really like this because this did not exist before, where you can decide how you're going to buy it based off of what situation you're in. So if you want to buy with a bank, if you want to swap or bridge crypto, or if you need Ethereum to bridge over. Now, for some of these, I actually have videos. And so if you don't follow me right now on YouTube yet, go and subscribe. It's Crypto Bestie, and you'll find my channel there. But some of my most watched videos are on how to bridge back and forth between Ethereum and PulseChain. We're going to use my favorite way to buy Pulse today, and that is PulseX.com. So right here, we're going to click Start Trading, where the PulseX symbol is. All right, so right here we have our PulseX.com. And there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can come in and launch that app right here. You can run it from your desktop. You can do IPFS. I've done it all the different ways. Something about me and my background is I used to be a software developer. And so I actually have the downloads. Right now I have a Mac OS. And so I have this downloaded on my computer just in case, because I want to have it in case, you know, something went down on the internet or whatever that is. You can actually still use it as a download on your desktop. But for today's sake, we are going to come in here and launch PulseX. Right here, we are now in PulseX. What you're going to do in the corner is you're going to connect to a wallet. And my personal choice right now is actually MetaMask. And so I have my MetaMask tied to this at the moment. And what we're going to do is say we had already bridged in USDC. I have just a little bit of USDC right here. And I want to swap it for Pulse. So this is our DEX within PulseChain. And right here, we can see that we have this swap feature. Now, you probably already know how to do this, but if you don't, this tutorial is for you. So right here, we're going to take whatever coin you're trying to swap. So maybe you bridged in Ethereum. Maybe you did, I don't even know if you can do USDT. Usually I do USDC. So I have my USDC right here. I make sure that I have the right one clicked. So I click that right there. You can also paste the address here if you are interested in doing that. And then you can decide the balance that you're going to use. So I'm going to use the max. I have $2.50 basically right here. And I want to swap it for some Pulse. Disclaimer on this. You have to have Pulse to already be able to do this. And so if you're going to go in and come into this, there are a couple different ways that you can get Pulse if you need it. So, and I'll show you that here in a second. But what we're going to do is we're swapping my USDC for Pulse. And you can see that I already have a balance of Pulse right here. And by swapping the 250, I'm going to get the 49,000 Pulse. And if you want to come in and check the fees, if you're interested in that, you can come in here and look at that as well. So we're going to click swap, confirm swap. It's going to open another tab, and I am going to have to come in and confirm it. And then we wait for the approval. And this is pretty quick, so we won't have to wait for super long. Maybe I spoke too soon. So we'll wait just a second. There we go. Now we're going to confirm. transaction is submitted. And then we'll wait just a second, and then we can see that the transaction receipt is right there. And then you can do this a couple of different ways. Like I just clicked max right there, and I actually don't have that much. But you can see that my balance of USDC, 0. My balance of Pulse is now 185,000 on this account. Or you can go into your wallet and look at it there. Now, there are a couple of other ways to do this. And when I say a couple, there are many different ways that you can do this. So going back to PulseChain.com, we are going to look at those different options. And then, of course, I posted it on X today. I wanted to see if there were any ones that I was missing because everyone's so cool and has all their different ways that they buy things and do things. And I feel like sometimes I don't always know what's going on. And so I asked today, and someone replied with a great tweet of kind of what to do. And so I wanted to add that to this because I think that it was very timely and I think that it could help you. But first, we are going to go back to PulseChain.com. Now, if we come back up here, like I said, you can find what you're at. So if you're buying with a bank, you can use the Coaster ramp now. Say you're swapping or bridging in crypto. There is the PulseChain Bridge, there's Gibbs Finance, there's Liberty Swap, and Tokens Express. Something that I found when I was asking this question on X is Liberty Swap is super popular for this. And then if you're coming from another chain that's not listed, there's D-Bridge or Llama Swap as well as Allbridge. And then if you need ETH to bridge, then you can go from a centralized exchange like Kraken or Coinbase and bridge it over from there. So each of these just has different steps that you can do as you go throughout that. Now, I do want to show you that tweet because it honestly helped me. And so I think it will help you too. Okay, shout out to JC Bizzleboy. He put this together on the tweet. If you want to find it, my username is It's Crypto Bestie. But right here, you can see all the different ways that you can buy Pulse depending on where you're at. So if you're crypto to crypto, fiat to crypto, the aggregators of DEXs, I thought that this was super interesting. So that there is that as well. So take a screenshot, take a picture of this just so you have that in case you are wanting to look for another way of how to do this. As always, this is not financial advice. And this is something that you get to choose to do. So if you want to buy Pulse, that's awesome. There are many different ways that you can do it depending on what situation you're in. And it is always good to go in with caution as you're using different tools that maybe aren't always as native to the product. So it's great to be able to use different smart contracts that let you do different things and different softwares that let you do different things, but make sure that you're doing your due diligence of going in and making sure that you trust the software, that you're okay to connect your bank account or your wallet to it. There is so much caution that needs to happen when you're going about this. And also another thing that you should think about safety-wise is having a hardware wallet and what that looks like for you. Because hardware wallets are, in my opinion, very, very important because we want to protect our crypto. We don't want anyone stealing our crypto. So we want to protect our crypto. And I think that that's something important to keep in mind. So as you're going to go buy Pulse, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that this video helped you to be able to go and buy Pulse as you move forward in your crypto journey. And I'm so grateful to be here. And I just want to say thank you so much to Maddie once again and to the PulseChain community. And I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.
Awesome. Well, another great segment and much needed because of the, the fact that a lot of people, they're going to want to buy Pulse. And so thankful to Rachel for
Hi, my name is Rachel Law.
doing that. Oh, sorry. I thought she was back in person, but okay. Oh, wait.
Hi.
There we go.
Thank you. Yes, and I absolutely agree. It's good to have tutorials on how to do things like that.
one of the things that I said I would do before we close out the conference tonight is I want to thank the organization that helped bring Brock Pierce to the PulseChain Conference, which is called Free and Equal. And it helps with the politics of the libertarian movement and like all the things that Brock Pierce is involved with. And particularly Christina Tobin was the person who helped facilitate this. And so I'm sharing the Twitter links for both Free and Equal and Christina Tobin on X. And so if you guys want to follow, oops, maybe I need to put a space in there. X.com/ for all of you listening, audio only, Free and Equal, just how it sounds. And then also CHRISTINA Tobin, TOBIN. Oops, it's getting late. There we go. So go ahead and follow and like appreciate those two accounts for helping to make the Bitcoin Billionaire interview possible tonight. And I also want to thank our sponsors, texitcoin.org. You'll hear from founder Bobby Gray tomorrow night. PayUS.io. If you rewind to the beginning of this hour, I give a rundown for them. And pulseland.io did the first 20 minutes of their sponsored talk today and will give us a 10-minute update on Sunday. We have an amazing schedule lined up for tomorrow, starting at the same time we did tonight, kicking off with like 11 speakers in the first hour, including Crypto Bella 0x, Eric Zachman, Crypto Story 77, The Chain Temple, Alex Solian, Zach Ripto, Okeechobee, Alpha Baller, Hex Ninja, KR, The Ghost, and Panos will all speak in the first hour, rapid round testimonials. And then we'll have a panel with Corey Geary, Fast Abdul, Saint Wolf, and Whitney Magic. Then 20 minutes with Bobby Gray, 20 minutes with Nerd Girl 007, 10-minute talk from Pulse Coin List, 10-minute talk from Freddie Quotes, then an hour with Longevity founder Aubrey DeGray, and we will finish off with a 5-person panel between Zenith Crypto, CC from Liquid Loans, Solid Hex, the Solid X Whale, Adam Stokes, and Just Ask Jesse. So lots to look forward to tomorrow. And thanks again, Rachel, for helping me hold it down tonight.
Of course, thank you too. This was great.
Yep. And we will leave you all with a little bit more Hex and PulseChain music and see you again tomorrow. Thanks again. Peace out. Oh, until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the Hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex, I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo.